everybody. Welcome to Ian Bagg Bought a House, podcast video cast about me, Ian Bagg, buying a house on the Virginia shore, and my mother-in-law lives in it while we turn it into a family vacation home, and she becomes the caretaker of that house. I come in every week and I talk to somebody else new in the art of owning a house, buying a house, fixing a house, dealing with problems that you never thought you'd get having a house. And this week we've got Realtor Scott Capelli. He is from Newport. He's with First Team Christie's. So, we're going to hear a lot of good stories about rich people, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to have a good time. This week, let's see. So last week we did the show on July 2nd. So since that time, we've had Independence Day go by. And what an Independence Day it was. First of all, we party at our house on July 3rd because we live in Long Beach, and the Long Beach Fire Department, they do a big old party with fireworks on July 3rd, and we all get on the beach and watch it, and everybody goes, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. And I have a vape pen that I got from some people, and I got high for it, and I couldn't stop giggling to myself while doing talk in my head, because we had our friends over, and their little girl was doing the same talk out loud that I was having in my head. She was mocking the fireworks, and I was loving it because I think fireworks are stupid. And she's like, "Oh, that's the best one. Oh, that's the best one. Oh, they're all the same, so they're the best ones. Those are best ones." And I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, "Wow, this is exciting. This is exciting. This must be what sex is like after you get snipped." That's what I was thinking. Anyways. Chris came out on So July 4th, lying in bed, we had a little bit of an earthquake, and my wife was in the living room, and she goes, "Yeah, I think it's an earthquake." And I said, "No, it's just waves hitting the house," because we always get waves hitting the sand in front of the house, and it always shakes the house. And I'm like, "Oh, that's an earthquake because it hasn't stopped. It's supposed to be stopping after a couple seconds there." And so I just lied in bed. You're supposed to roll over, is what you're supposed to do when an earthquake happens and you're in bed. Roll over, hide your organs from things falling from the roof, and protect your neck and head so you don't get killed. Just to let everybody know, I know what you do during an earthquake. I just don't do it. All right? So that was that earthquake. Friday night, I went and did a show at the Hollywood Laugh Factory. And I was just waiting to go on. And as I was walking to the front door to go outside, because I don't hang out, I just pace around. As I was walking outside, the doorway started to move. I'm like, "Oh, good, we're having another earthquake." And the guy that was on stage was like, "This place is moving." And I went outside thinking I might get followed by a bunch of people. Not one person moved out of that building. Not one person. I was the only one that left the building. Do you know what you're supposed to do during an earthquake, Chris?
Get in a doorway usually?
No, you're supposed to drop to the ground and use anything to protect you. So go under a table or whatever. All right? That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to get in the doorway because the doorway can split and throw you out of the door, and it also can cut you in half. That was the other thing. It can cut you in half. Did you know that?
I did not know that, and I'm glad that I just stayed. I was here on the 11th floor when it happened.
You're on the 11th floor?
Yeah, I was working late.
Oh, man.
And it was a little scarier that...
Were you by yourself?
Yes.
Oh, so you're in the bathroom taking a poop all by yourself, and all of a sudden everything started shaking?
Yes.
Did it shake for long?
It was a good it felt like 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah, it was a while. So when I was outside, there was cops pulling people over just before it happened, and they had motorbikes, and the one cop kept holding on to his motorbike. He goes, "I think it's going to fall over. I don't want it to fall over." And I'm like, "Let it fall over. Don't save your motorbike, dude. Save you." But the stoplights were doing this. They were waving back and forth. But just like when I was in Omaha and they had a tornado, and the tornado went probably, just in front of the club and took out things in front of the club, and we were all hiding in the stairwell. As soon as it was over, everybody went into the showroom and we did a show. So I went on stage as soon as the earthquake was over, and all I could think was, this is the longest 15-minute set I've ever done, because I want fucking out of this place. That's all I was thinking. I wasn't being a pansy, but at the same time, I was like, let's get this over. I've never looked for the light. I'm like, please let the light come on, hurry up. Let me get out of here and let Chris Fonseca go on stage and be killed by this shit. I want out of here. And then Saturday night, we went to the old Ice House, and Chris did a set. I had a bunch of friends come out. Who was it, Chris? It was me, you,
It was Carlos Kotkin, Wendy Wilkins,
Dave Williamson.
Dave Williamson, and there was one other guy from San Diego, but I forgot.
John
his name.
Wynn did a show. Josh came up.
Josh, yes.
Josh Dumel.
Josh Dumel. All extremely funny people. They were awesome.
Yeah, it was a great night. And if you came out, make sure you come out and see a show. And this week I will be at Nyack, New York, West Nyack, New York, at Levity Live, West Nyack. If you want to go to a mall that's nowhere near anything, that is almost in New York City, and you want to see me, come out to West Nyack, New York. We are going to have a great time. We got shows on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. By the way, I'm putting the brakes on Sunday shows. Sunday shows, I'm going to be switching all Sunday shows. I'm going to work on these club owners to Wednesdays, because Sundays are just a fucking letdown. Because it never packs out unless you're a huge name. That's the only time it packs out, right? So Wednesday, if I do an extra show on Wednesday instead of Sunday, it gives me time to build a little bit with the small amount of people that come out on the Wednesday with, what do they call that? Water bottle chatter. What is that when you work in an office and you talk around?
Water cooler talk.
Water cooler talk. And water cooler talk doesn't work on fucking Monday morning if I'm gone Sunday night. If I leave Sunday night is my last show. So I'm going to try to do that. That's how I'm going to work it out. I don't know why I'm swearing so much today. Swearing a lot. A lot of anger.
Well, you survived an earthquake, so you...
I survived an earthquake. Let's make sure there's anything else that I need to talk about. Let's see. The pot was... Oh, so... Here it is. So on our July 3rd party, I made 3 pounds, 4 pounds worth of hamburgers for all my friends that came over, right? And then our friend Tanya came over with her new boyfriend, and it's the first time we met him. Well, Johnny likes to go skin diving and go swimming in the ocean, showed up with 14 lobsters that he caught off the Catalina coast. So guess whose hamburgers didn't get eaten, because everybody was freaking out about there being fresh lobster from the California seas. Yeah, we still got hamburger in our fridge. That's why I'm angry. But his name was Rand. Do you want to know what Rand is short for?
I have no idea.
Randy.
Really? That's it?
He had to shorten it up. People couldn't spell it, so he had to. Yeah, he goes by Rand. His name was Randy, but he's like, nope, I'm not horny, so take the Y off. What do you think of that, Chris?
That's like a dad joke.
Where is speaking of dads? Where's Renee today?
Well, it's his birthday, so he's getting tacos.
Oh my goodness, it's Renee's birthday, so he's getting tacos? But what about his butthole? Can his butthole survive that?
Well, he just had it checked.
He just had his butthole checked last week.
time.
That's why I missed the show. This week, he's reloading his butthole with tacos. Oh, let's get to our guest, shall we? What do you think, Chris? Shall we get to our guest?
Yes.
Let's put on some
let's go.
sunglasses so I can be cool as freak as I talk to our guest. Scott Capelli from First Team Christie's Realtor Extravaganza. You look more like a golf pro than a real estate guy, to be honest with you.
Thank you. Was going with that look. I'm not a shirt and tie guy. So
you're not a shirt and tie guy?
No, never.
Even when you're working?
If it's for like a photo shoot or like a company event, I'll throw in a tie, or I'll do the suit without a tie because I think that's equivalent.
Right.
But that's it. I hate dressing up. Worst part of the job, dressing up.
I've got a lot of questions for you. First of all, how did you get into real estate?
So when I was a kid, I was kind of always obsessed with houses. I drive to model homes and walk around and hang out there for a few hours after school. Are you serious? Yeah. When I got my license, I would drive around Yorba Linda to model homes because at that time there was a ton of model homes. And, they would always say, like, oh, are your parents here? And I'd be like, yeah, they're in the car. They just want me to get a brochure. Get the brochure, hop that little fence that anybody can hop, and hang out in the model homes. And I don't know. I was a weird kid. So
that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah. I mean, I was actually interested in being an architect, but then I suck at math and don't know how houses work. Yeah, I've always been obsessed with houses and new builds and floor plans and all that.
Did you ever work for a company that sold like the setup, that you're jumping those things? No?
No, not at all. I worked for an appraiser during college. So that got me into I did all the field inspections before the market crashed. So she was super busy. I would actually go to everybody's houses, take the pictures, measure, and I probably did 2,000 or 3,000 houses back then.
Wow.
And that was kind of cool because I loved going inside people's houses. And sometimes they would just like leave, and say, lock the door on your way out. And I'd be there for 2 hours, just like walking around, obviously getting my stuff done. But
what's the weirdest thing you ever seen going into somebody's house to do an appraisal?
So you'd be surprised that people don't hide anything, like I'd never looked in anybody's drawers or anything.
Right.
But one house in Long Beach, probably right by you, it was like an old craftsman style house, about $1 million, remodeled back in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
They left the biggest dildo I've ever seen in the shower. Like it was a suction cup one on the glass. And part of my job is you had to take a picture of bathroom and the kitchen. You have to take certain pictures for the lender.
Right.
So I texted my boss saying, hey, like, I don't know what about this, bathroom picture. And she's just like, move it. So I get in the shower and I take like a towel and I just knock it down. And then I like angle it and take the photo, and I was on my way.
What's great about it? It's moved to a different place or something. When they come home, they're like, oh, this isn't the right height.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
That was the strangest.
And I'm pretty sure it was down the street. This couple, Vince and Chris. I'm pretty sure that's who it was. Just to let you know.
Probably.
Okay, so you do that, and then you decide you want to be a realtor. Yes.
Yes. Yep. So I've only been on the real estate side for about 3 years now, and I started in 2016, and from 2016 up until now, I've sold about like $22 million worth of houses, which.
In Newport is like 1.5 houses.
Yes. So one client was about 12 million of that. We sold a house, bought him a house, then sold it again. So
hold on, they bought a house?
Yeah.
And then they didn't like it.
We sold his house in Newport, and on the water, Newport Harbor.
Uh-huh.
We bought him a house on land, not on the harbor.
Right.
And then he died in a helicopter crash. So we had to sell it again.
Oh my God, that is a way to live. Just to let you know, just be able to live on the harbor, then live on land, and then die in a helicopter crash. That is a way of living. Oh my God. Well, you gotta thank him for helping you out.
I did. I call my Acura like his name.
That's
when I drive it. I go, hey, thanks.
Thanks, but let's not fly. Let's not fly when you call his name. Okay, so what are the 5 things? Okay, let's say I'm selling a house. What are the 5 things I should do to make a realtor want to work with me?
You mean how to prep your house?
Well, just the 5 things. Yeah, to my house should have this already done when I call you to come work with me.
Okay. So you should kind of already do your homework and, based off, everybody has access to Zillow or other websites. You should know what kind of stuff is selling in your neighborhood, so you don't have an unrealistic expectation of a sales price. So you should do your homework ahead of time about okay, here's a range of what I think it is.
Right.
You should already have you should already know where you're going to go. Are you going to sell it and buy a place? Or are you going to rent a place? What's the deal?
Just to stop you there, do you run into people not having their next step planned a lot of times?
Oh, of course. Of course. Especially, a couple of years ago when the market was pretty hot, everybody wanted to sell their house and they didn't know where the hell they were going to go.
Right.
So, that turns from, I'll rent a place until, prices go down, I could buy something. But then they go look at rentals and they realize, the rent amount is so high. Oh, now I want to buy something. Well, We're still on escrow, so I would recommend, knowing your next step in life. And that goes with a timeline as well. Are you willing to have the house sit on the market for a year? Are you, or do you want out now? These are all things before I come over, you should know, because that's pretty much what I'm going to ask you. Also, if you know the payoff amount, the loan payoff amount, any liens or anything, because we'll know right off the bat when we get the title prelim report, what's going on with the house. And oftentimes people are like, oh, I didn't know I owed $10,000 to Chase, and I forgot to tell you I'm still paying off a pool.
Right.
Like my last house, the homeowner, they remodeled it, and I thought everything was good. And then we're about to close, and then this lien on a pool comes up, and I'm like, oh, you're paying off a pool? And it wasn't even a nice pool. Like, he remodeled the pool and owed 10 grand on the pool, and it wasn't even nice.
Well, if he needs a new pool, we have a pool guy that we had last week that is fantastic. So you let us know if you need a pool. Nice. So know your liens, know your next step. Know your value.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
What else? Just know that it's not an easy ride sometimes. Right. It's not like the TV shows.
Right. It doesn't wrap up in 30 minutes?
Nope.
Oh, okay. What is something that'll scare you off of working with somebody?
So I'm a pretty good judge of character right off the bat in terms of when I come over. If it's luckily all my clients mostly have been friends of friends, so I always reach out to those friends and be like, oh, what's the deal with this person? Am I going to go crazy? Are they very needy? Are they going to call me at midnight? So I do my research going over there. But usually when it comes to, deciding on a price, right away I can tell if they're being realistic or unrealistic. And for me, I mean, if someone's way off from what I have, I know it's going to be a nightmare. And, every other realtor will take that job, because every other realtor will say, hey, you want to sell it for $1 million? Yeah, that's a great idea, because they want that. They want the job, but it won't sell for $1 million. So I come in, I'm very realistic. So right off the bat, I could tell if they're nuts or not, and then I decide if I want to continue that arrangement with them or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you had any? Before I ask that question, is there a nightmare for a seller that's different for a nightmare for a buyer? Are they just both unrealistic?
They're both nightmares. Usually the nightmare is the closing time. If the buyer thinks the escrow is going to be 45 days and they're all moved out, they're all ready to go, and then it doesn't, that's their worst nightmare. It's not closing on time. On the selling side, it's the same thing, because they have such a small window to move. If these people don't have another place to go, that they only have 2 or 3 days to move everything, and if it's not closing those 2 or 3 days, it's hell.
Right.
So it's usually when it comes to the closing time that they're both equally. I mean, they could both get screwed. And
so basically, what you're saying is, if you're selling a house, have some place to put your stuff in storage, because chances are it's not going to happen on time. If you're moving into a place, probably have an extra month's rent or whatever going on, so you can be relaxed and not a dick to probably you is who they're probably a dick to.
Yeah, it's all my fault.
It's all your fault. Have you had any famous clients that were a pain in the butt?
Yes. So
hold on, you're allowed to tell us this?
Yeah, it's fine. So in Newport Beach, the guy that died in the helicopter crash, my client,
he's a pain in the butt. Yeah, he's a pain in the
butt. Sorry, dude. So when he bought this house, not on the harbor, it was listed for $5 million. We got it to him for $4 million. A beautiful house, all one story, steel, totally remodeled. And when we got it for $4 million and we closed, this woman from Flip or Flop, she's on that show on HGTV, Christina.
Susie Yoga Pants.
What was that?
Susie Yoga Pants. That's what I call her.
Yes, in her Lululemon.
Yeah.
She just came from Orange Theory.
Yeah.
So she stopped by in her Bentley, and she wanted that house. Well, he just bought it, so we got it from for $4 million. He turns around and says, "Yeah, I'll sell it to you for $5 million," and then she backs off, right? And then we don't hear from her. And then, unfortunately, he passed away in a helicopter crash. And guess who comes around?
Guess who comes sniffing around? She tried to kill her husband with cancer, but now she's killed a guy with a helicopter. So the weird thing is her ex-husband lives like 2 blocks away. He bought a house first. That was like a modern farmhouse for like $2 million. It was in Costa Mesa, but literally 2 blocks away from this house. So she decided to put in an offer for 4.5. Right.
The widow of my client, she wanted to sell. She didn't need to live in that house anymore. So we opened escrow at 4.5, and it was just a nightmare transaction because she used an agent, which is super weird. She used an agent. She has a real estate license, and actually her license is in my office in Newport, or it was as of this time that it happened. So she could have done the deal herself.
Hold on. So she was one of the people out of your office?
Yeah. So she has her real estate license, but we got an email around saying like, oh, Christina Mosa joins first team in Newport, like a year ago. And then this happens, and she's using an agent from a different broker. So we're like, what the hell is she doing? But I think it was a friend of hers. So we opened escrow, and right off the bat, it was, she wanted to come at like a Saturday night at like 9:00 to like look at furniture, and then she'd be late, and her agent would call me saying, her flight's delayed. And I'm like, it's not Obama. Like, who cares? No, it's not. She's not going to come. And everybody on the buyer side just treated her like, she's like amazing.
Right.
But on my side, I like my responsibilities for my client, this widow who just wants the money. Like, she doesn't give a shit.
She wants to get rid of the house.
Show.
She wants to move on from her life. She'd like to heal.
She doesn't care.
Yeah.
And so we were, and she didn't know where she was going to move either. She didn't know if she was going to buy something, rent something. My client was super stressed. And then, then I hear, oh, well, they sold their house. Now she's in a rental. We're really pushing to close early. And I'm like, okay, let's stick to the contract. Like, everything is just, you can't argue with stuff. And so it just turned out to be horrible. And then at the end of the day, she backed out like 1 week before we were supposed to close. She just called the whole thing off.
Hold on. She didn't buy the house?
Oh, she did, but I'm freaking out, and I'm calling, my broker, and I'm calling everybody, and she comes back and she's like, okay, I'll buy it for 4.1. So $400,000 hit. So then we're back and the thing sells for 4.1. And she said, there was a lot, she didn't have the money to renovate all of it that she wanted to do. So that's why she offered 4.1. And then she moves in, and then she guts the place, and she guts the whole backyard. And it was already like a remodeled house, beautiful, and yeah, it was not fun.
So she pulls it out. Do people do that a lot, where they just try to get it down?
Not in my experience. It's they don't completely back out. She was like, she had sent something over to cancel the deal. My last deal, these people were like testing me and saying, okay, we'll back out if you don't come down $10,000. And I said,
and you're
okay,
like, we just got fucked for $400,000. We don't give a shit about $10,000.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Great. Thank you. And then I hung up, and then an hour later they called. They changed their mind. So that happens a lot, but not $400,000, on a 4.5 house, where we know that we bought it for our client for $400,000. And now we're just making up the commission difference, and our commission was lowered. So, you're not even making the money back that you bought it for like 5 months ago. So that rarely happens. And then the day that it closed, my client, that was a nightmare, because no one ever shows up at that 5 p.m. In the contract, it always says, close of escrow by 5 p.m. You turn over the keys and stuff. That never happens. The agents always work together and say like, hey, I'll give you the keys here. I'll meet you here at 5 o'clock. I get a phone call saying she's on her way to the house, or the keys there. My client, the widow, calls me saying, I'm moving motorcycles. My husband's motorcycles. I don't know how I'm going to get them out. I'm still here. And I'm like, okay, calm down. They're not going to. Right. The house is closed, but whatever. And that lasted for 4 hours of her still moving stuff out, which, is a nightmare on my end, because there's nothing I can do. Right. It's embarrassing that she wasn't out in time. But then, Christina kept like circling the place, and she finally got in at 9 p.m. that night. But it was
that's about the time she likes to do things, anyways, according to her plans of seeing the place. So that's
yeah.
So to my listeners, don't be a dick. When you buy the house, you're going to live in it a long time. That 4 hours, people get stressed when they're moving into places. Everybody's stressed on either side. Take a breath. If you know your agent, it's going to be much easier. Talk with them. If you get the price that you want, maybe take another breath and go, okay, we're going to get there. It might be midnight when we move in, but that goes back to before having that extra time for the place you're living at while buying a house. So everybody just calm down, make life easier for everybody. Question. So you get the commission from who on that sale?
So it's always from the seller side. So,
it's always from the seller.
Yeah. So for $4 million, the seller, the widow, would pay my part and then the buyer's side, which is Christina's side. But usually at that price point, anything over a couple million, my experience has been the clients are always like, okay, this is a large sum. And, you're doing the same job as you're doing for like a $500,000 house.
Right.
When it comes time to negotiating or repair requests, you always cut them a break on the commission or you just take a hit.
Right.
And for me, I mean, it's a lot of money, so I don't mind doing that. However, it's strange that at that price point, they are.
That's when they get cheaper.
But,
yeah. That's closing costs. When somebody says we'll cover the closing costs on something.
Yes.
What does it mean? But why is that such a big deal? Like to people, I notice on all the shows I watch and some of the things that I've learned, the closing costs is a big deal to everybody.
I don't get it. It's the same thing as like, I'll pay cash for it because at the end of the day, you're getting a check. Right. It's not like you're getting a safe with cash.
I know. Whenever they say cash, I get so mad. I'm like, there should be a big lump of saran wrap cash in the driveway, right?
Yeah. The counter.
Yeah.
No. So literally when people say cover your closing costs, it's exactly the same thing as, okay, I'll take a hit on my commission. I won't get 2.5%. I'll get 2%. Right? Because that 0.5% is several $1,000s, and that's usually the closing cost. So it's like you come off as like, oh, I'm getting this commission for the normal 2.5% commission. Maybe something comes up. Maybe the clients are iffy about you. You go, hey, I'll cover closing costs. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Great. You're amazing. Right. But it's basically the same thing as, just taking a hit on your commission. But yeah, that's the escrow title fees at the end of the transaction that all get deducted out from like the payoff amount for everything. So it's not like I'm putting in my money. I'm just getting less commission back at the end of the day.
Why is it so much harder to get a bank loan for a house than, I know it's a bigger amount, but when you get a Best Buy card, they want to check where you've lived and for the next couple of years. I just think it would be easier to get a house where they know where you're going to be living. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. It seems like there should be some sort of sliding scale where, oh, he's going to be there. We know where he's going to be. He's getting that house. So
I've never actually thought about that.
It frustrates. It frustrates me like you wouldn't believe. Do you have your own?
You get a lot of Best Buy cards?
You know what? Best Buy drives me insane. I love Best Buy, and I try to not use my Best Buy card, but they just give you, it's going to, next thing I know, I got another gigantic TV for no apparent reason, a PlayStation, and blah, 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 blah. But and they keep changing. They change. What drives me mad about the Best Buy card, they've changed banks that they work with 4 times while I've had a Best Buy card. I'm like, I'm not allowed to just switch up my credit card like that. Come on, guys, just pick up.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know what I'm complaining about that. Have you ever caught anybody having sex in a house while you're showing it?
So in North Hollywood, good old North Hollywood, I drove like 2 hours to show a property there. It was a condo. They knew I was coming. I talked to the agent. The agent said there was a lockbox. I have my lockbox key thing. I go there. I always knock, especially now. I always knock and ring the doorbell. No one answered. Just a condo. I mean, it's not a mansion or anything.
Right.
I wait a few minutes. I walk in. It's a 1-car garage, and there's a car in it. I'm like, okay, a little weird, but whatever. And I say, hello, nothing. I go upstairs, and it wasn't a couple. It was just a man.
By himself?
Yeah, having sex by himself. And the funny thing was,
it must have been priced to sell. That's what I'm saying. This is fantastic.
He was laying on the ground with his laptop, and he didn't jump up. I was expecting him to jump up,
Well, hello, Scott. That's what he said.
But he didn't.
He didn't jump up. No. Who was he?
He lived there. He was the owner of the house.
So in my head, I'm picturing it empty, like no furniture.
Oh, no.
Just him, sorry. Just like the maintenance man going up saying, "Oh, this looks like a good place. Don't whack it."
No, it was the owner.
To trim some
up. And then he didn't jump up, and then he was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to take a shower. You can keep looking at the house." And we're like, "Oh, we're out of here."
I'm going to take a shower. Look, I got to
get this. And then another couple came in as we left, and I was like, "Do I tell them or not?"
No, you don't tell them.
I just left.
What's the big thing that? What's the big like what's the new thing in houses that makes people buy something? Like when you walk in and there's oh, you have this? Yeah, we want
like
this
the
place.
wow factor.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. But it's the ooh wow.
It's probably, I mean, it's always been kind of the kitchen, and the kitchen still is pretty big on people's lists. People walk in houses now because they watch all these shows and assume that there's going to be a wine fridge, a warming drawer. So I'd say that's like the first thing that people look at. Also, the outside space. A lot of new builders now, have these Californian rooms, which are just enclosed patios, and that's their whole backyard. So it's rare to find a big yard anymore. Mm-hmm. So I believe people want big backyards still. So I would say the backyard and the kitchen for sure.
Nice. Energy wise, do people look for solar power? Is that a selling point?
So I had 2 solar panel deals. Both of them were leased, which, you put that on MLS when you're selling a house. Like, these are leased, they're not purchased, meaning you have to assume the lease.
Right.
Well, depending on the solar power company, that could be easier. That could be a pain in the ass. Me personally, I wouldn't buy a house with solar panels because you don't know what the technology is going to be like in 5 to 10 years, and you're signing these contracts for 20.
Right.
So to me, I wouldn't. However, if you use a lot of electricity and it looks like a good deal, then I would. So this last house I just sold had solar panels. It was 50-50. People would walk in and say, oh, they're leased, and then peace out. Right. And then people were like, oh, solar panel. Well, what's the monthly? What company is? Are they Tesla? Yeah, I have a Tesla. Great. And that's the person that bought the house was impressed because they're Tesla panels.
Were they the shingle kind of things?
No, not the nice ones.
No, just
they
a
were
chunk
Tesla
on
makes like old school ones.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Chris, do we have any questions for Scott before we get going? Because I'm going to ask him a couple more questions, and then we're going to get flying out of here. Let him have his day, go out and sell the houses, take down some more people from reality TV because he's got that reality. I don't know how much. I didn't know she had $4 million to actually buy for a house.
Well, I'm not going to go into her financials, but yeah, it was not a cash offer.
It was not a cash offer, and she needed to get down to 4.1, and she's probably sold it for 4.5, trying to make herself $400,000. Tell people where they can get a hold of you to if they want. And by the way, I know you're in Newport, but you do all of California or just Southern California?
Well, not all of California, but Southern California, LA, OC, Inland Empire. You can find me on Instagram. My name is Scott, and the last name is Cappelli, Cappelli. Or you can go to my website. It's www.buysellDonate.org because I donate a part of my commission to a Cancer College scholarship that I run at Cal State Fullerton.
Tell us more about this before we get going.
So my best friend brother passed away from brain cancer in 2016, and he graduated Cal State Fullerton in 2014 and with me. And Cancer for College, it's run by Will Ferrell's best friend. And they give $5,000 a year to cancer survivors attending college. So I'm in charge. His name is Frank, so I run the Frank the Tank scholarship at Cal State Fullerton. So every year we give out $5,000 to a cancer survivor or someone currently battling. So, and that all comes from my commission. So I take part of my commission and put it towards that.
That's awesome. Good for you, man. That's a nice thing to do. There's nothing you can never go wrong by doing that. You're helping somebody out, and people are going to run into those situations along the line. As we get older, we find more people with problems, and if you have a chance to help somebody out with what you do, and if you love it, you got to give a little bit. So yeah. Chris, any questions?
No, not really. There's mostly just like people were saying they have had so one guy, Michael Bednarik, I'm dealing with a high maintenance buyer right now, and then what a PETA. I don't know what that means.
What a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what I mean. So he's dealing with a high maintenance buyer. What any suggestions for a seller that is dealing with a high maintenance buyer? Anything that before we get going?
Well, I mean, it's really not this. It's it shouldn't be any transaction. Really shouldn't be stressful for the buyers and sellers. It's stressful for me. I take everything personally. So my job is not to have the seller stressed. So really, I mean, it's the agents aren't, communicating well. I find that honestly, I try to be friends with the other agent right off the bat, and have a good communication. I follow up everything in writing because, of course, they like to say stuff on the phone and then, you're screwed. So
Right.
I follow up every conversation in writing, what we just talked about. But I've learned that, just getting good communication with the other agent makes a smooth transaction.
Nice. And
Not like the Christina Moser one.
Right. And if you are having a stressful time, you basically have a not very good agent, right? If it's coming back to you. So,
shouldn't. I mean, it's really not like, brain surgery or anything. It's
Right.
simple. You don't need a college degree to do this job.
Ooh,
you have to have,
just
good
threw yourself under the bus there.
But yeah, I mean, I take everything personally. I work really hard and to avoid stressing my buyer or seller out.
So let people know, get yourself a good real estate agent, talk with them for a while, make sure that they're gonna deal with it for you. Make sure you have extra time on leeway for when the closing happens. Don't be freaked out by words like "we're gonna cover the cost." Know what your house is worth. Know what your house is worth. That is one thing. And don't fall for these TV shows. They are, at the end of the day, TV shows that everybody needs to. And if they want to get a hold of you, one more time.
Instagram, Scott Capelli, Cappelli, or go to buysellDonate.org.
Nice. Thank you, Scott, for dropping by. Ian Bagg bought a house, and next time I'll be buying a house in Southern California, so get ready for a pain-in-the-ass client. Boom, boom, ba-doom, boom, boom, boom. Have a great day, bro.
All right, you too. Bye.
Oh, that was nice. I like it. Go see Scott. If you're buying or selling a house, go see Scott and give some of the money back to he donates to it. And that's great. I love that. That people don't have to have all their money. Like, too many people, right, Chris? Just fucking, they just take their money and just.
Yeah.
There's my big thing with companies now is that we need to be $1 billion company within 5 years, not 10. You know what I mean? If you can pay your employees a little bit more, and it takes you 10 years to be $1 billion company, and you have better employees. Like you pay people, you just make people, like, at the end of the day, quality of life, right?
Yes.
And 500 millions, you're gonna have a pretty good quality of life, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, fuck, I'm right. Any questions from the people? Anything that I should know about before we get going?
One last thing. Well, a lot of people were saying hello. I'm sorry if I missed that. But James Coberly, it's incredibly hard to become an agent. I have a master's degree and didn't have the patience to read all the stuff in the way of real estate exam. I got like halfway and gave up.
Well, that's James. I'm not being a dick. I know you have a master's degree, but it's being able to be interested in that area. You may be a doctor, but if you're not interested in real estate, you're not going to get through that reading. Whereas I'm not going to get through getting through the reading to be a doctor. It all depends. I would always hire somebody that's passionate about a career over somebody that just happens to do a lot of business but kind of hates it. You can tell from a person. You can tell when you meet them whether they think they should be doing something else, Like Chris has that attitude.
Yes.
You think you should be hosting, not producing. You're like, this is bullshit.
I thought you meant I like producing. I like doing everything.
That you had a good attitude? No,
Yeah.
I think you got a bad attitude, Chris.
Oh.
I gave Chris a shirt. Let's see. Coming up this week, Nyack, New York. Next week, I'll be in Lake Chelan, Washington. The week after that, I will be in Ontario, California. Tonight, I will be at El Cid doing Who's the Ross talk show. I'll be a guest on a talk show. I used to do back in 2004 to 2008. I did a live talk show from Hermosa Beach and from the Friars Club. It was called the Ian Bagg Show. And there's a guy doing kind of the same thing, but it's online. And it's called Who's the Ross? And he talked to me, and I was like, I'd love to be a guest. So I'm going to do his show. I think he's got a band performing tonight, and also a guy that's a what do they call it? A trainer, a personal trainer is coming in to talk. So I'm looking forward to that. It was a lot of fun. I used to do that with Brian Irwin, used to help me out. Pat Keene. Who else used to do that? Oh, there was a couple. Joe Bartnick used to write on it. Andrew. Why am I blanking on Andrew's name? Andrew Wantock, who is now one of the producers on Comedy Central. We used to just fool around and do this stupid thing. We didn't know anything any better. And Comedy Central was looking at it, and then they picked Daniel Tosh. E Entertainment was looking at it, and then they picked Chelsea Handler. So, as you know, I've always been second place, except for with my wife. I'm first place. But that's not true. She also was going to marry this other guy, and then I came into her life, and then I was fine. I was second place, too. I was second place, too. Thank God he dumped her, so I got her. Now I'll probably get beaten when I get home for that. You get in your room, and you don't come out of there until you apologize. That is not how my wife talks. She talks like this. And then she puts a country accent on it. So, let me know who you want for guests on the show. If you know somebody, I'm looking to talk to a plumber. If anybody wants to know, I'm looking for a plumber to talk to. I'm looking for a flooring person. I'm looking for, what else am I looking for? I'm looking for an electrician. I'm looking for everything. If you got something to do with the housing community, with just putting things into a house, building a house, I actually have a guy that designs houses that's going to be coming on the show. So
and fun. Like an architect?
Yeah, an architect, but he works for a company, and he's going to come on and discuss out of Florida. So he will have lots of information for us about hurricanes.
There's an architect firm next to us.
Those guys are always pooping in the bathroom.
They're always taking note. Yeah, I don't trust them.
I don't trust those guys either. I call them the deucers. Deucers housing and such.
I know a really good cabinet guy that does kitchen cabinets.
Let's have him on. Yeah, I'd love to talk to him about cabinets. So also make sure you check in for Ian's Lunch Friday. I do that on Facebook as well. I'm going to start doing something on Instagram just called Ian, because that's how I think about myself. Ian. Anyways, thank you for everybody for tuning in. We're going to check out now. Have a great day. Facebook, thanks for giving us this platform to be dicks on. Boom. Boom, boom. Bagg bought a house